Check, check, check. Everything seems to be working. Well, Krita 4 is out. For all my complaining a couple days ago, all of a sudden they got a new version. And I'm going to tell you that I can recommend it. Animation-wise, it doesn't seem like much has changed at all. But in terms of hardware acceleration and the brush set, I mean, it could be a lot of these brushes that I'm playing around with were in Krita previously, and I just never sort of navigated through and found them. But I'm really impressed with some of the brushes, the brush engine improvements. Everything is really tactile. I think this is kind of cool if you're into like comics or manga type work. You know, you got these, you know, and again, some of this stuff may have been in there before. I don't know. But I noticed some of the particle brushes. Let me see. What it seems like this one was kind of interesting. Yeah, like for creating landscapes, you know, quickly. Not that you want to necessarily use a crutch all the time, but it is nice that there's some really well thought out brushes that just make your work a little easier, you know, make it faster to create assets, you know, for an animation. So as far as a painting tool, I love the update. I think it's great. It seems to be, everything seems to be very fluid. Very good. Very good. And if you want to if you want to do animation with a really simple workflow, you know, Krita is fine for that. So let's move away from Krita. Suffice to say, version 4, download it, try it. I think it's a good upgrade. Okay. OpenToonz. Now, I want to talk a little bit about Toonz and Blender. I said in a previous video, the thing about Toonz that the thing about Blender that I would think would keep me using it is infinite canvas. And actually, I shouldn't have just created that level. Well, it turns out that if you just change these dimensions here when you create a Toonz level, you wind up with, it's not an infinite canvas, but for all intents and purposes, it might as well be. Because, you know, previously I would draw on a Toonz raster level or a regular raster level, and if I went outside of the camera view, you know, you can't draw anymore. Okay, I'm stupid. If I realized if I would have simply changed the dimensions of the level when I create it, so that I just give myself that ability to, you know, go outside the lines. Well, why would you want to do that? Well, so that you can work out an animation that moves in space, and you're going to have a camera move that follows it, and this sort of thing. So, as far as infinite canvas goes, Blender, there's not a big win there. It's cool, but it's not that cool. This works fine. And of course, OpenToonz also has a concept of a 3D camera view so that you can set up parallax for a camera move and stuff like that. So it's really not too limited in that respect. Okay, why is the new level pop-up coming up? This is kind of interesting. I love it. It almost seems like it literally never fails. If I create a video, something completely unexpected and bizarre will happen. I have never, in over a year of using OpenToonz, had this happen. Just out of nowhere. A new level pop up, and it's impossible to close. Maybe if I hit enter. Okay. So whatever. We're just going to do what you would probably do, which is rerun it. Again, literally, that has never happened even one time. Today's the day. Actually, this is kind of a curse I have. I have the same curse in my music studio. I can have a scenario with my hardware and configuration and all that works flawlessly for months, and then the day I bring someone else into the studio, things just start breaking. You know, it's just one of my little curses in life. So anyway, talking about Blender, kind of makes me want to tell this story. I actually have a long history with Blender. I started working with Blender probably in 1999, so almost 20 years. I was the first guy on the planet to create Blender training videos back in around 2000. Blender Modeling 101, Modeling 102. And then I helped to co-author the Blender Training Manual Volume 2 with Bart and Reven and, the Iceman. What was his name? I don't remember his name. His handle was the Iceman. He was one of those guys that back in those days, you know, there's the Blender forum. At any period of time, there would be one guy who tended to answer tons and tons of questions and really kind of dominated the boards, right? And it was the Iceman during that period of time. The period before that, about a year earlier, there was some guy named Kiernan something, that dominated the boards. Then he sort of disappeared and fell off the map, and then the Iceman came along, and it always was that way back then. So back in 2000, I went to SIGGRAPH because I was kind of more closely involved with the Blender guys, and the whole thing was a little smaller back then, but they were going to, you know, they had venture capital going on, and they were going to try to take Blender to the next level. And the concept was to mainly capitalize on the Blender game engine. So I remember going to this meeting at SIGGRAPH, and I met Ton Rosendahl, and I think Bart was there too. And it was pretty cool. So I meet this guy who's one of the venture capital investors, right? And I should qualify this statement by saying that while I make no claims to be a millionaire, I have been in business by myself, for myself, since 1991. Okay, so I have some experience with sales. I have some experience sort of getting a read on people, you know, and stuff like that. And so I meet this guy named Ian. Don't know what his last name was, but I meet this guy named Ian, and I'm just having a conversation. He's one of the venture capitalists, and he says to me in this British voice that he has, he says, I just love radical intelligence. And I'm like, okay, Ian, that's great. Well, why are you telling me this? It was just surreal and bizarre. But this was the period of time where, you know, anybody that could fog a mirror could get venture capital. And so here with Blender, you have this product that Ton created that is for modeling, animating, and rendering animation. And the venture capitalists think they're going to build this whole new business model on this game engine. And that is like the cardinal sin of marketing is to spend years building a brand and then throw it away. It's like when Kmart changed their name to Big K. You just step back and go, what were they thinking? They had decades of building that brand. Now, they were going to go belly up anyway. I mean, they were doomed as a company for other reasons you could talk about. But the fact of the matter is, just throwing the brand away, you know, what genius in the marketing department came up with that idea? Absolutely a foolish idea. Anyway, the Blender thing was kind of like that to me. I came away from SIGGRAPH going, this is not going to end well. This is not going to work. And sure enough, I don't even think it took them a year to be bankrupt and to make the decision to bury Blender. And I got to compliment Tom because he did exactly the right thing to convince them to allow him to ransom Blender for €100,000 and then open source it was absolutely the right thing. So anyway, the point of the story is I got a long history with Blender. It's not like when it comes to Blender 2.8, I have no problem with the idea of moving forward with it. But let's remember, when Blender 2.5 came out, it was touted as being a real step forward. Mainly, from what I remember, it was all about the interface. The interface was going to be so much better, so much less cluttered, so much more efficient, better workflow, all these things. And again, I'm sitting there going, yeah, I mean, I'll believe it when it happens. And, you know, is Blender 2.5 an improvement? I would say yes, over 2.49 and prior. But it took a while. I mean, it's been 8 years. I think it's been at least 7 years since Blender 2.5 came out. So now we're up to Blender 2.8, and it's an even bigger change, bigger improvement, bigger everything. And ironically, what's completely funny to me is that, you know, from about a year ago to 6 months ago, I can remember guys talking about the fact that the big thing that's going to be so cool about this is going to be the interface. And I'm going, do you remember 7 years ago when you said the exact same thing and you were wrong? Like I said, it's actually compared to Blender 2.49, it is not better. It's just different. And it's good. You know, it's good in some ways. It's got some flaws, but, you know, for the most part, I would say, yes, it is an improvement. But Blender 2.8, I've used the beta. The fill tool is good. It's not perfect, but it's good. The ability to set up I'm sorry, the word is escaping me. Not vector, point groups, vertex groups. I'm sorry, brain fart. Okay. The ability to set up vertex groups within grease pencil strokes is cool because now you can parent a portion of a stroke to a bone and deform it. But having said that, that basic capability's always been there by creating image assets and mapping them to a plane, and then you deform that. I mean, the basic capability's already been there. So if you're going to compare this workflow to that workflow and really call it an improvement, the only thing that matters is it actually faster? Or do you find that in order to be able to take advantage of that boning capability or that puppet style animation capability, the actual setup and rigging, yeah, it takes just as long as it ever did. I would bet you at least $1 and maybe $100 that it's going to be about the same amount of work. Okay, so it's cool to have the capability, but for somebody who's just trying to do the animation work, is it really helping that much? It's only useful when it's useful. And then there's the whole question of, will the thing be stable? We don't know. So I'm not suggesting that we should be cynical. I think you want to download the beta. It does look good. The Eevee real-time rendering engine is amazing. I mean, it is definitely a step forward. But for me, dealing with cartoon-style 2D animation, I don't know if it's going to be all that revolutionary. Okay? And what I'm finding is, item after item, the closer I look at OpenToonz, and remember, I'm the guy, I've said a couple things on other videos that were critical of OpenToonz. So, you know, I'm eating my words now, and I'm happy to. I'm glad that I can. Because honestly, the deeper I look, the more I'm going, wow, this is actually really well thought out. Okay? So let's talk about what some of those things are, for example. I have complained in the past that if I create a plain old raster level in OpenToonz, which remember, that is functionally equivalent to me creating an image sequence in Krita, or you can even do it in MyPaint, because in MyPaint you can export layers as numerically sequenced ping files, things like that. And you could do it from Blender, obviously. Okay, so when you create a Toonz raster level, or I'm sorry, when you create a raster level in Toonz as distinguished from a Toonz raster level, they are not the same. But if you create a raster level, meaning you're getting the same result as if you just imported your art from elsewhere, import pings or TIFF image sequences. There's no fill capability. And you go, wait, what? You can't do a fill? Well, it's true you can't. However, what I've learned is that what you can do, and I'll try to do this as simply as I can. I'll just make a goofy shape, and then Toonz wants to do an autosave for me. Okay, so I'm just going to draw kind of a quick cartoon character kind of thing going on so that we have something to work with. Not sure why. Okay, anyway. So if I hit the fill tool and try to fill it, the current tool can't be used on a raster level. But what I found out was you can go ahead and save that level. Actually, I think what I actually want to do is export the level. Okay. And let me look at where it's wanting to save it here. It should save it in drawings. Okay, so I'm going to go test, convert. All right. And it's going to export them. I'm going to use TIFFs. So it's export it as TIFFs. Okay, so then if I go to convert a level, convert a file, yeah. Okay, so now I got a different project. I'm in the wrong project root. Sorry. Drawings. Okay, test convert TIFF. I'm going to choose that, and I'm going to convert it to TLV. Convert. Okay, and now just load a level. And I mean, of course, who wants to do all these steps? Frankly, it's not that many steps. And remember, if you want to use any other program in conjunction with OpenToonz, you're going to be going through these steps anyway. You're going to have an image sequence. You know, the common thread in this whole process is the art assets, either paintings or image sequences. You know, that is the common piece of data that we're throwing around here and working with. So anyway, go down here, test convert TLV. Let's load that. I'm just going to go ahead and import it. Okay, so I'll be honest with you. I'm not really sure why the lines are blue because I haven't done this enough times to know what all the bugs are. But the upshot is, okay, hold on a second here. Yeah, okay, here we go. So now this is a Toonz raster level, not a raster level. It's a Toonz raster level. What's the difference? Well, with a Toonz raster level, first and foremost, you can fill stuff. And not only can you fill stuff, but later after the fact, it works like the Blender grease pencil, where if I go ahead and change the colors, Toonz is going to keep track of all of that and update them all. Okay, so now in this particular case, let's be honest. The outline came in kind of winky. The other tests I've done have not been quite like that. They've done better. I think I just have too many. The density of my outlines probably wasn't tight enough. But I mean, the point is, you can work with the MyPaint brushes and do a fill. You just got to convert it to a Toonz raster level. I didn't realize before that there was even the possibility of doing that conversion, you know. So what else? Gosh, I mean, I could talk about being able to nest columns, like if this, you know, these two layers, we can actually combine them into a single layer, and you can nest stuff as deeply as you want. I'm really impressed with the function editor. If you go to the function editor here, and let's just pick something here, and then I think it's this button. Yeah, if you click this button, it opens up the function curves, and you can hit fit, which makes any animation. Obviously, there's none in this for this particular animatable property, but if there was, there'd be a Bezier curve, and it'll instantly zoom right into it, so you can, you know, you're not fighting the interface, and that's been pretty impressive to see. So anyway, I'm gonna stop there for today because I don't really like creating this like completely stupid art and having the software break here. in front of everybody. So I need to do what I said I was going to do the other day, which is just spend some time, getting to know OpenTunes. But the more I do, the more impressed I am. And the fact that I can have that there is a way to bring in raster levels, in other words, bring in art from another program and do fills, that's a win. The infinite canvas, that's a win. So on and on we go. Anyway, that's it. I'll keep updating you, and hopefully starting with the next video, I'll actually have something to show that is worth looking at as far as the actual animation work, because all these little tests and breakages are kind of annoying. So anyway, later.